Welcome to Conversation with Zaki Baruti, with your host Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family, what's happening, to the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on, and to New Life Evangelists in the family headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our cameraman, Bob. On that note, we'll have another great show because in studio with me in part two of a two-part series is none other than a strong brother who is from St. Louis, but is currently residing in Mississippi, in fact, Jackson, Mississippi. And he heads the local organizing committee of Jackson, Mississippi, and I'm speaking none other than Brother Kareem Muhammad. Greetings, my brother. Assalamu alaikum. I got my hands out. Okay, then.
Assalamu alaikum. Hotel, free the land, power to the people.
All of the above. Okay, then. It's always good seeing you, my brother.
Yes.
And welcome to the studio again. You know, this is part two of a two-part series that I have you here to deal with a real heavy social issue that impacts communities all across this country. I'm talking about particularly black communities, and that's our interaction with police departments. And I want to deal with a very important national case, actually. But before we do all of that, just very briefly share, for those who may not have seen part one, a little background of yourself.
Yes, sir. Once again, thank you, Zaki, for inviting me, as well as I just am overwhelmed to be sitting in the studio of our friend and comrade, Reverend Rice, as well as I want to thank NLEC TV for the sacrifices that it takes to put something like this on. Like you said, wonderful cameraman, Brother Bob, back there. And so
right.
Definitely, we just want to always acknowledge our own. And so I wanted to do that. I'm Brother Kareem Muhammad again, born in St. Louis, Missouri. I came up in the early, as an early young brother as a Black Panther. Joined the Black Panthers in the mid-'60s. Tried to do it before then. I was too young. They didn't want me. It's not that they didn't want me. They couldn't allow me to come in. But being our lieutenant at that time was Brother Jamil Alameen, formerly known as H. Rap Brown, and our chairman was Chairman Leon Dent. As we know now today, both Jamil Alameen is locked down in federal prison, and they lynched our brother Leon Dent in the early 70s when they was attacking the Black Panthers at the well.
And when you say they lynched him, did they take him out? I mean,
he was in prison.
He was in prison. And he was found murdered inside the prison.
Hung.
Hung. Okay, then.
Yes.
All
yes,
right.
Yes.
Go ahead, then. I'm sorry.
And so from there, in the Black study programs that we studied, I began to study and began to study the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings. And it came close to what I was looking for as far as identifying who I was, who our family and how our people was, and who really was the enemy. And so I continue on with that journey as well. But I was born raised in the Midtown, St. Louis, Vanderbilt and Finney, Delmore and Enright, and those areas right there, where it was like a Harlem Nights area where all the black shakers and movers came in at. It was nothing for us to see Jackie Wilson, Red Fox, Pearl Bailey, individuals like that come in, B.B. King, to see them on a daily basis. I first started shining shoes, and those were some of my first customers that would always look out for me, give me tips and things like that. So
I heard that then. So that was a lot of history there in terms of the area that you grew up in. Now, in terms of to delve into the case that we'll be delving into, and that was out of Mississippi. Currently, where are you residing?
I'm residing in Byron, Mississippi, which is about 15, 20 minutes outside of Jackson, which is a suburb of Jackson. We started our work in Greenville, Mississippi, which is the Delta, because it has the largest population of black people in this country, but also it's one of the most intimidating, terrorized part of the country as well. So we wanted to start our work there, because if we could break down the Delta, then we could go into the Jackson area and others to do the same thing. So we worked inside Greenville for close to 15 years or so in doing what we did. Now we have...
How did you, I'm sorry to interrupt, how did you choose, so you moved from St. Louis to Greenville, Mississippi, correct? Yes. So how did you choose Greenville, Mississippi?
Well, of course, I'm in the Nation of Islam.
Okay.
And when we move, we look for the closest mosque that we can find, so we could definitely have a support system. And so when I called Chicago after Minister Akbar and Brother Wahid, I'm saying their names like that because they the one that assigned me and convinced me to go down there.
Oh, okay, you were encouraged to move south then.
Because of, I really arrived there in 05, right? After the Million Man March. But I had been going in and out of Mississippi prior to that, during the reparation movement. And so they told me that they needed me down there because one of my training disaster coordinating disaster, I'm FEMA certified. They needed me down there because...
So you FEMA certified?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir. And my credential was used here in Mississippi when they brought them brothers and sisters up from New Orleans and put them in Gumbo and other areas. And so Sister Jamil and others could not get up in there the way they wanted to. And so knowing that I had the FEMA credentials, we were able to get up in there where they were able to go in there and we were able to identify and see what was going on up in there.
So FEMA, again, just for our audience, what does that stand for?
Federal Emergency Management Agency. Back then, it was the Emergency Management Agency that deal with mitigation for a disaster. Now it is a federal organization dealing with military.
Okay then. All right, on that note, we'll have to have our first break.
An epidemic of homelessness is sweeping throughout the United States of America. In city after city, people are ending up on the streets. Now, instead of feeling overwhelmed, as believers, we can do three things. We can give, we can volunteer, and we can pray. We can pray for the homeless refugees that we're finding in one city after another, all over the United States. So many people ending up out on the streets, and the hearts of so many are growing cold at this particular time and indifferent to the need. Jesus said, as oft as you've done it to the least of these, he said, even so you've done it unto me. When's the last time you've prayed for the homeless refugees in the United States of America, appearing in city after city, not only in major cities, but even smaller cities? So many people ending up out on the streets, even in resort areas, places you never think you'd find homeless people, they're there. Jesus said, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but he, the Son of Man, had nowhere to lay his head. Please pray for the refugees. Please pray for the homeless people in America. And pray for those that are on the front lines, the first responders, reaching out through Jesus Christ among the homeless and hurting, whether it's in Springfield or St. Louis. Your prayers and gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center makes a big difference. This New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, is 63166.
Behind me is the New Life Evangelistic Center administrative offices in Overland, Missouri. And this is where we shoot our shows for our worship shows and the Here's Help Network. And it's also where Zaki Baruti and Bernie Hayes shoot their shows. You can find all of these shows at the New Life Evangelistic Center app, the NLEC TV app. You can also access them on your tablet or on your computer. And this is how you can stay up to date with all the things that New Life Evangelistic Center is doing. There are so many different programs that we've got going on, and God is doing many exciting things through partners like you. So if you want to support the work that New Life is doing, then please access and give through the app. You can go online at nlecstl.org, or give us a call at 314-421-3020. Again, 314-421-3020. But this is the best way to get plugged into the amazing work that New Life is doing through people like you. And so there is something for you to get involved in today. And we are so thankful for our partners. Only through the grace of God and your gift are we able to bless others today.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Brother Kareem Muhammad, who's the founder of the local organizing committee of Jackson, Mississippi. And that local organizing committee is an extension of what historic event?
Yes, the Million Man March.
All right, the Million Man March. And one of your major missions in Greenville, as well as now right outside Jackson, Mississippi, is to prepare people for possibilities of disasters, as per you becoming knowledgeable through the FEMA. FEMA. Right, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay then. Now, most recently, your organization has been involved in a really national case that hasn't been put on TV too much, but it's been publicized in a lot of black publications, and that's the arrest, conviction of 6 Mississippi law enforcement officers. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay, and that occurred, the
incident or the...
Wait a minute, before, also, there's a major article about that event in the Final Call newspaper, which is a publication of the Nation of Islam. And on the screen is the photos of at least 6 of those white officers, as well as a photo bottom of that same article of a number of activists, including you in Mississippi. And it's extended over to page 32, where it has another picture of yourself and Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz, an outstanding black attorney. Now, let's give some history or background as to what took place that led to the conviction of these officers.
Thank you for asking that. And first and foremost, we want to say those conviction was just not no lightweight conviction.
Absolutely.
It was historical.
Absolutely.
Never in the history of this country, let alone Mississippi, have ever 6 white officers ever been charged and convicted, maximum sentencing for doing anything to black people. Not 1, not 2, let alone 6. And so historically, that was something that all of us need to consider, the historical aspect, as we look at 1963 as being a historical event, or 1972 as being a historical event, or 1964 being a historical event, which dealt with the Freedom Summer Day in Mississippi, or the Black National Conference in Gary, Indiana. So, but this is historical, and so this set precedent for the whole country as far as how now that they're going to sentence a law enforcement officer. Now, how it began was the fact that on January 26th of 2022, 6 white
January 26,
2023.
2023.
Yes.
Okay.
6 white officers, known as the Goon Squad.
They were known publicly as the Goon Squad?
Secretly.
Oh, okay.
But they were known by one another.
Okay.
As the Goon Squad.
All right. They called themselves the Goon Squad among themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
But in their community, they were known as the Death Squad by the community.
Okay.
And so they accosted Michael Parker, who's one of the residents of this home, along with his friend, Michael Jenkins.
And in what area are we talking about specifically?
Now we're talking about Brandon, Mississippi.
Which is in what county?
Rankin County.
Rankin County, okay.
Absolutely. That's a more predominantly white environment like Clayton.
Okay, and so what happened? These two black men, you just gave their names. They were what now?
There was a custody. They were the police officers. Alpine, who was the leading officer, got a call saying that they was at the house again. So he sent a message out to his team to go and do something about that. And so they all
Why were they targeting these two black men then?
It was the same way we used to be if we went to Brentwood. Same way if we went to Jenkins, Jennings, and we decided to go out there and live. You know, brother.
So these two brothers was living in kind
one
of like,
of them, Michael Parker was, and he was living there because he was
in a kind of like a predominantly white area.
Yes.
Okay.
But he was a nurse, a practitioner, or a nurse aide for a lady, a Caucasian lady that was in a wheelchair. So
Okay.
that was his reason for being there.
Okay.
But they didn't want
Living there.
Yes.
Okay.
They didn't want blacks in that area.
Okay.
And one of the law enforcement officers there, one of the goon squad, Alpine, he lived not too far down the street. And
Okay.
so they all got together, their neighbors, and said that they were going to get rid of them.
Oh, okay. So it was they were targeted purely for removing them from the neighborhood. Is that what
Yes.
you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because I had thought I had heard rumor to the fact that supposedly they thought one of the black men were messing with or involved with a white lady, but that's not the case then.
Well, I mean, that just was added.
Okay, they added that on. So that
No, they may have had involvement with Caucasian women.
okay.
But I'm saying that was not the beginning reason.
Oh, okay then. Okay.
That was
then.
an additive.
Okay then.
The beginning was, you got to go.
Okay then. So they called this goon squad and they vamped on the house, right?
Yes. And
Before we go into those details, we'll have to take a quick break.
All right.
We'll come back.
Maybe on the journey of life, you feel like you're just overwhelmed. You feel like you're stumbling over one thing or another. You're about to go over the cliff of life. Everything seems so hopeless at this moment. I want to encourage you to get into God's Word. Faith cometh by hearing, hearing by the Word of God. Look around you at the wonders of all that God has created. Let faith come into your heart. Experience His joy, His peace, His power. And as you do that, get your eyes off your problems and look at somebody else that's in need out there. There's so many homeless people at this time. You see them everywhere. So many hurting people. I'd invite you to join us on Friday mornings in front of City Hall at 6:45 to 8:15 and just reach out and be a part of how we're helping the people there. We're get them food, water, transportation assistance, clothing, just hygiene items, a wide range of support. But you take your eyes off your problems, you see somebody else. And it does a whole lot, because a lot of times you go into prayer and you're just focused on the problem, and the problem gets bigger and bigger. Our prayer involves taking our eyes off ourselves, looking to God, the author and creator of all, and spelling out the word acts. First, engage in adoration, then the C is confession. Yes, and then what do you do after that? Well, you engage in thanksgiving. And then the S, supplication, you go on and ask Him. There's a whole lot in God's Word that will give us direction on that struggle as we go through life. You can also get more if you want to go to LarryRiceMinistries.org. There's a lot there at that site. And we offer you many opportunities here at the New Life Evangelistic Center to go out among the hurting and homeless. You can do that. You can work at our headquarters at 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. There's so many different opportunities. And if you want further information, call us at 314-421-3020, but go to nlecstl.org. Let's do something right now. This world is hurting. You and I can make a big difference for good.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me, Brother Kareem Muhammad. We're about to enter into a very deep police violence case that has national implications that occurred in Brandon, Mississippi, in the county of Rankin. And we're going into details. So you had this one officer calls his other goon squad members.
Yes.
And so the second person, and they were coming to the house to intimidate a black man who had moved into predominantly white area.
Yes.
And so the second brother was just there visiting us.
Yes. Yes.
So now what happened?
And then so once they kicked in the doors, as we learned in the court hearing, that they was given instructions to don't, when they get in there, don't mess up the face because that would show some evidence of what they was trying to do, and also watch for cameras. And so when they went in there and they realized that there was cameras on the front, they moved to the back. And they kicked in the back door, which allowed the other ones to come in. And so Michael Parker and them said when they was in there, they realized what they was looking at and who they were looking at, and they realized that these people came here to kill them or to torture them. And so they did try to do both. They came in there, handcuffed them, had them on their knees, they started tasing them, they started beating them with items. They took and kicked in the door inside the room, came out with a BB gun, took a dildo and put it on the end of the BB gun and tried to molest them in the mouth with it. But they didn't. They wouldn't allow them to open their mouth. Then they tried to, they continued to tase them. Then they tried to stick it in their rectum. But because of the tasing and the terror that was going on, Michael Jenkins had devastated on himself. So they couldn't do that. So they made them out, they started torturing them, laying them on their back, pouring waterboarding them, pouring milk and alcohol and syrup in them. Then they told them to get up and made them take all their clothes off and put them in the shower and made them bathe together. Then once they brought them back out, they handcuffed them again and began to test their tasers and see who had the most powerful taser on them. After they did that, one of the officers decided now that he wanted to terrorize them even more so, because at the beginning, when he first walked in there, he shot the pistol, a revolver off at the back, talking about where the drugs at. And so at that time, he stuck the gun in Michael Jenkins' mouth. The first time, it dry snapped, which means that it didn't go off. He then recocked it, and it went out that time and shot Michael in the neck, tore out the back of his jaw, severed his tongue, where he's barely able to talk or anything now, broke his jaw, and then they left him down on the floor. They didn't call administrative help and walked to the back, all 5 or 6 of them, to determine how they was going to cover it up. So this went on for about 20 more minutes before they decided on what to do. They get Michael Parker, put him in the car as they began to steal things out of the house that they wanted. One of the officers said that he had a throwaway gun, so he was going to throw the gun down as if Michael Jenkins had tried to escape after they had found the drugs. So they take Eddie Parker, put him in the police car, and began to intimidate him and tell him what they needed him to say. So Michael Jenkins wakes up the next day in the hospital as his mother began to come see him, because they wouldn't let the mama come see him or nothing, and so they called the local organizing committee to see what we could do to assist, along with Malik, because I wouldn't go up in there without a proper attorney that we needed.
Yeah, Malik Zula Shabazz, outstanding black attorney.
Yeah.
Okay, so the family reached out to your organization for help. So with that said, we got to take another quick break and we'll continue.
When you partner with New Life Evangelistic Center, you impact so many people. The economy in this country is really hurting so many all over. And we're seeing the number of people who are experiencing homelessness rise. You can make a difference today by giving your gift online at newlifeevangelisticcenter.org. newlifeevangelisticcenter.org. Make a real big change in the lives of so many.
Zaki Baruti has been such an inspiration to so many people for so many years. He's been an advocate for the poor, the downtrodden, And Conversations with Zaki Baruti is continuing on right here on the NLEC TV app. Now that's why it's so very important. You tell everyone you know that Zaki Baruti is right here on the NLEC TV app, and tell them how to get it. Yes, let them know how they can go to the Google App Store, the App Store there on their phone or mobile device, and how they can bring it up. And not only did they have an opportunity to enjoy and be inspired and learn from the conversation with Zaki Baruti, but they're going to get insights and the homeless and hurting throughout our community, and Here's Help programs that are there. There's inspirational programming, and not only is it on NLEC TV, but there's the great classic movies and inspirational creation videos that are there, and even a 24-hour radio show that's on the Here's Help Radio Network. That and much more right there waiting, and it's all free of charge on the NLEC TV app. So do yourself a favor by sharing the good news with your family, your friends, and most of all, they're going to discover that there's hope. Yes, hope through the love of God, manifested through the resurrection of Christ, all waiting right there on the NLEC TV app. Now, if we can be further help to you, call us at 314-421-3020 here at the New Life Evangelistic Center, or go to nlecstl.org. We're here to help you, and now we're asking you to help others to discover the NLEC TV app.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me, Kareem Muhammad. We only have a couple more minutes left. So the family reached out to you. My question to you, though, is normally police violence, from my perspective, is usually covered up. How did this case get busted? I mean, how did they end up being convicted and what have you? What happened real quick?
And that was the part of what the LOC objective was, to come in there to make sure it wasn't pushed up on the rug. We knew the state of Mississippi, that was basically what they was doing. The governor wasn't saying nothing, the attorney general wasn't saying nothing, nor were either any of the major politicians was not saying nothing. So we had to make a move where we could get somebody's voice, name out there that would be able to support what we was doing. We knew that the state wouldn't do it, so we had to go straight to the federal. And so Malik, myself, and the team that we had together, we determined that this was a civil rights issue. And so we put a brief together to propose to the civil rights issue, civil rights committee of the Fed, to what we was doing. And so we was blessed to have our sister, Kristen Clark, who is over the Civil Rights Department of Washington, D.C. And when we put it together, the words that we put together, she was able to come around and say, if this really happened, we're going to take this up. And so because the feds came in there and took it up and began to reinvestigate and found out that everything of what was going on, then they began to get to the law enforcement, those goon squad, and let them know what they had, the evidence that they had, and what they had done and thrown away and falsifying reports. And then so they began to turn on one another.
Okay then, all right then. And so they all eventually confessed to it, is that correct?
Absolutely, with hope that they was going to get a short term.
So, okay, they confessed, and they've been to court, and what was the sentencing? Quick now.
Which was real historical. We was able to get 131 years for all of those individuals that participated in there. The maximum sentencing being with all of them was 35 years, 20 years, 20 years, 17 years, 10 years. The minimum sentence was 10 years. And so we were able to get a maximum sentence of 131 years, which made this historical, never has ever happened. And that was done because we protested, we demonstrated, we wrote letters, we talked to congressmen, we had them to speak out. And because of that, God blessed us with that.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you for the work that the organization has done. And, just pray that you continue to do the work that you're doing. I know you're affected with eye disease, but you see better than many people. I mean, for our audience, he's blind, but he's not really blind. He's has a powerful vision. So on that note, may God continue to bless you, my brother. And to our listening audience, I always encourage everybody, elections are coming up, know the issues. Go out and vote, as well as everyone needs to belong to an organization that speaks truth to power. We say join the Universal African Peoples Organization, and you see how effective organizations can be to make a change. Again, thank you, my brother.